Welcome, I'm Paul Barron. Welcome to our 5th podcast for Century 21 Leading Edge. To my left is
Tassis Giannakakis, and I'm one of the managers at Century 21 Leading Edge.
Anthony Bungaro, manager, Century 21 Leading Edge, Main Street, Markham.
There you go. So we took a little bit of time off. I know it's been a while since our last podcast. We were doing a little summer vacationing, a little holidaying. I happened to go to California and went to Napa Valley for the first time. So tonight we're going to be doing...
For research purposes only.
For research purposes for the podcast. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to taste one of the wines that I brought back from California, which is the one in the middle here, the Tor. And this is a wine that isn't sold in Ontario or anywhere other than at the vineyard on their wait list. Wow. So we're going to give that one a try. And of course, because I brought a nice strong California cab, I figured I had to have some other strong cabs to go up against it. So the first one that we're going to try is one that's available in the LCBO. And this is also a California cab, but from a larger vineyard called Joseph Phelps. And this is a cab that I had in my cellar.
Oh, thank you.
And we're going to actually just compare that, and that's the shorter glass, so we can keep track of it. We'll start with that one, and then we'll go next to the Tor after we try this one. So enjoy it, guys. Welcome back to the podcast. Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, and
Cheers.
Our film crew usually joins in. So Vendetta Media guys, thanks very much, and please bring in the wine glasses so that we can give you a pour as well. Now I also have had these wines being decanted for about an hour so far, because this one's a 2010, but because wines are a little bit younger, they tend to need to be decanted a bit just to soften the tannins. So that's why we've got them all spread out here. So cheers.
Cheers.
To Vendetta.
Cheers, Vendetta.
Cheers.
Cheers. Perfect. So we'll enjoy that one for a bit, and let's do a little bit of real estate talk. So what's going on in the market, guys? How are things shaping up for the summer?
They're shaping up, I think, actually, is the right word. July was improved over last year's July, and I'm sure you have the numbers, Paul, so we'll chat about those. But I know that the July sales were up in comparison to last year's July. So I think that's a positive sign that the public is adjusted to the more difficult mortgage qualifying, and just kind of gotten over that hump of let's wait and see what's going to happen, right? That only lasts a certain amount of time, because I think at the end of the day, most people are still basing their decisions not on the market, but on their life, right? What's going on in my life? Do I need to buy a house, sell a house, etc.? So I think that's positive.
Yeah, and that's you're actually on a good point. People sell for different reasons. Yeah. And there would have been people that would say, look, I'm cashing out. Wow, it was better, I should have. Maybe when things on a peak price. But the reality is everyone sells for different reasons. So if you look at the opportunity now and you want to upgrade, downsize, I think there's more opportunity in this market. And yeah, with the sales in July going up, which seasonally July slows down, it was an excellent July. The thought is that let's fasten our seat belts and let's foresee a real outstanding fall. So we're certainly shooting for that, but the stage should be set for that.
Yeah, no, I agree absolutely, and I think when we look at last year, we were having 10, 12 people bidding on listings that were coming out. So where did all those buyers go? They're still interested in buying, but the new qualification rules, the government intervention, all of these things have to take their course, settle down, and as you said, Tass, people understand that it's not the end of the world,
right?
And they need to get back out there and buy a house. In fact, what this has really done is it has actually helped a lot of people, because it was getting
Yeah.
out of hand, out of control in terms of the values, and this helped to settle things back a little bit.
Yep, I
And
agree.
now people can get out there and they can actually afford.
Even the decision making, Paul, right? So if I'm in the market to sell and buy,
Yeah.
fine, you're going to reap the rewards when the market is super hot, right? But think of the stress on your purchase end, right? You would see a house and you had to make a decision like this. So
not
for a
so
lot of people, even veterans in the buying and selling forum, that was a lot of stress.
It was horrifying.
Right?
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
like, okay, you can't have an inspection, you can't have any
Yeah.
conditions,
Yeah.
there's 14 offers,
Yeah.
and you need to go firm. And even people that have bought and sold in the past, that was not an ideal situation for a buyer to be in, right?
Not normal.
It was a higher stress level.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
So,
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so to give you some numbers for July, there was 6,961 listings sold in July, which is up 18.6% from July of 2017. So that's a major increase. Now, the challenge though out there is that there still is an undersupply of inventory, an undersupply of homes. And certainly I know that our board and it is lobbying to try to deal with, the building challenges, the zoning challenges, the fact that they've, set aside land that is not allowed to be built on, all of the challenges and delays in getting land that you can get to the point where you can build on it.
Right?
Yeah,
OMB getting dissolved, that's just going to prolong the process, right?
Yeah.
And that's going to be a challenge for the builders. It's going to take them longer, and all of that equates to the same thing, less product on the market, right?
Right.
And that's the bottom line. We need more product.
Yeah, and especially when we start selling 7,000 in July, 18.6% increase. If the people are now back out and we're going to have a stronger second half to the year in terms of number of transactions, it actually reminds me back in 2008 when they had the financial crisis in the U.S.
In the U.S., yeah.
So we had, I guess that was in probably April, I think it was, or not 100% sure on what month it was.
It was the end of 08 is when it melted down in the U.S. and then which was I think like December was when it really kind of went bad
and went into the new year.
And then it went into 2009.
It was like a scary new year
for like the first few months.
Yeah. So what was interesting with that is that we had 5 months of everybody holding their breath.
Right.
And then at the end of the year in 2008, leading edge at least, had the same number of transactions that we had the year before.
Right.
We just did them all in 7 months instead of over 12 because
everyone stopped holding their breath.
They stopped holding their breath, and then they were all out there and back into the market.
Yeah.
So we may find the same thing now. Is that the rules, everybody's sort of adjusted to the different rules and the things that are happening. So now if they're all out there, the volumes of sales will pick up and it'll catch up, and that pent up demand will get looked after, which probably means that it's a good idea to get out there and buy now.
No doubt.
Right? It's always a good idea to get out there and buy now. But the other thing that I think we should talk about, and we talked about this, we had a manager meeting on Monday this week, and although you guys may think that this is our managers meeting where we drink wine and chat about things, we do other meetings as well. And we sort of I think the message that we talked about there was the need to get people back out there working hard. The summer's over, volumes are up, it's time to get back to work. It's time to talk to people. It's time to call your database. It's time to get back into the training classes. And, we need to, we might as well tell them that here because they're watching. But it is time to get going on that stuff, right? And, we know that for the people that go through the training, they're selling at almost twice the rate or twice the average rate as our agents that don't go through the training. So why wouldn't you go through the training?
And I was looking at and maybe I was, not as accurate, but when we were going back and you were looking at the trained agents in the company, it was just sort of an opportunity to look, well, what's the average agent's income that's doing the training classes, that have a business plan? It was almost 3 times. Now things change. We could look at that and see if it's double, but regardless whether the average income of a motivated trained agent is 2 times or 3 times more than the ones who are not, it's still it proves the point that training and doing stuff, if you decide to sit home in the front hall closet and knit sweaters, it's not going to happen. So the good thing is you're absolutely correct. The opportunity is there. So, but we did look at you've got to make things happen. So I don't think it's a secret, Paul. I've repeated and repeated. The ones that are doing the upgrading, the training, are very professional, and they bring their business, to their level or higher than what they can possibly even imagine achieving.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's always sales to be had, Anthony, right? The example that I use all the time, and it's an example that my broker used to use when I first got in the business, when people would say, oh, the market is down, or the market is slow, right? So what a lot of people do is they just sit in the front closet, like you said, and decide, well, it's slow, so I'm not going to work.
Right.
But the reality of it is, look at the numbers, right? So if there were 7,000 sales, okay, and that means 7,000 sales is really 14,000 because someone was on the buy end, someone was on the sell end.
That's a good point.
So 14,000 deals were had by agents. 14,000 in 1 month. Right?
So once you get your piece of the pie.
We have 700 plus agents. How many do we want them to do?
That's
One a month each, 2 a month each, 3 a month each? There was 14,000. So, it's not like that nothing is happening.
That's a very good
There's
point.
always something happening, even when the market is slow.
I would like for them to do 10 each
10
a
each,
month,
yes.
and that's the 7,000, and then all the other real estate companies we don't need.
That's right.
I think that would work.
Excellent goal.
Excellent goal.
Excellent goal. Yeah.
There you go.
Makes
There
sense.
you go. Yep.
Good point.
Yep. So that's what else do we want to talk about? The market we think is improving and has some good signs, and I guess we're waiting to see how the fall turns out.
Yeah.
So I think that along that line is to talk about something that's a bit controversial with a lot of other companies. I've actually had other companies say, what the heck is Century 21 doing with this deal with Zillow?
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about that deal, what it means, and what opportunities are there. So I think to start with, and these numbers, just you have to double check to see, do they mean yearly? Do they mean, what do they mean, over 10 years? So Zillow has, you guys know what the number is?
It was massive. We talked about the number the other day. I don't remember it, but I remember it
It's 180 million visitors a month.
Yeah.
Okay. More massive than I was even going to guess.
Yeah.
Even though we talked about it.
It is just...
It's amazing.
Yes, just astronomical. And I was reading that I think Zillow has a market cap as a publicly traded company of $12 billion.
Wow.
And what Zillow is, and a lot of people in Canada and even in the US think Zillow is a real estate company. It's not a real estate company. No. It is a marketing and advertising company. And I think that, to understand it, you need to realize that real estate companies in general aren't spending the kind of money that needs to be spent in order to provide, I think you said it, a better mousetrap, or a better way to investigate what's on the market. And they have poured in a huge amount, right? I think on $1 billion in revenue. They've also been around 10 years, and they have not had a profit yet. So on $1 billion revenue last year, I think they only lost 200 million for the year. I do think that this year they had a quarter which was in the black for the first time. Wow. So, you know, the idea is that when you have a funded from venture capital type company, there is a huge staying power. So what they've done is they've created this massive following where that is the place to look at real estate in the US.
Yeah.
And what they have is, you know, a small percentage, but they probably have, with no Canadian content on their website, they have, not probably, but they have, I think it's 700,000 searches for Canadian real estate a month.
Yeah.
And they don't have any content. So as a result, so that's going nowhere. And these are U.S. buyers that are looking to buy property in Canada.
And they naturally go to Zillow because that's what they're used to
They're
going
used
to.
to going to,
They're used to going to that. They're
Yeah.
going to go there and search for Canadian.
But it's funny, my
real estate
next
as
door
well.
neighbor, you know, how's the market, Anthony, whatever, and he was talking about Zillow. You know, we're Canadian, and he said, I go to Zillow, and he says, I don't understand why we can't get all that information. What's going on here? So, but nonetheless, just speaking of that point, people are looking for that information.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So what happened is they announced that Century 21 Canada is the first company to partner with Zillow in Canada, and we're going to be providing a little bit later on this year, probably in a month or two, all of the listings on the Century 21 Canada site will appear on Zillow. So what that will do is that will give Century 21 agents 180 million more eyeballs a month, right? So when they didn't have any content, they had 700,000 people looking for it. What about when they talk about having the content?
When they have something to look at.
How many people are going to be looking at it? So from our perspective as a brand and as a company, it's going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of advantages to be first.
No doubt.
Right? And I'm just going to give you a little thing that Brian Rushton is the vice president at Century 21 Canada, and as I said, there's a lot of criticism, and I've talked with brokerages from other brands, and they're sort of saying to me, you know, you did a deal with the devil, and why did you do that? And they're actually providing information to their brand on why it's a bad idea. And I said, well, what you guys need to do is listen to the stuff we're listening to on why it's a good idea, because there's always
understand what it is. Because I think
point.
most of the times, Anthony, Paul, they're confused, right? Like the fact that you pointed out that Zillow is not a real estate brokerage, right? They're an advertising avenue, right? I think a lot of people don't get that. They don't understand that, right? So, and I think a lot of the brands, likewise, they have this protectionist attitude that's gone, you know,
30 years, 20 years ago.
It's gone. Yeah. We're not the gatekeepers of information anymore. That's not the power of real estate anymore. It used to be, oh, look, I have the book. Can't look at the book, right? Yeah. Everybody has the information now. So it's, I think, foolish thinking on their part.
Yeah,
right?
for sure. So I'll just tell you a little bit about what Rushton said in an article that he did in REM. He said, first and foremost, Century 21 Canada's brokers and agents serve home sellers and home buyers. And when new innovations are available that can improve the home selling and buying experience comes, then Century 21 embraces those innovations. Zillow is by far the most recognized real estate portal in the U.S. and has a great many buyers searching for homes throughout the world. Over 100 million international visits last year. So international visits over 100 million.
A lot of those could be people looking for Canada.
Yes, exactly. So international buyers, a lot of times they're looking at North America.
Yeah,
right.
That's
so we're going to be available to them. So by partnering with Zillow, Century 21 agents will expose their listing to a much wider audience at no cost. Right. Zillow Group brand receive an average of 186 million unique visitors every month. This blows my
The
mind.
numbers are hard to
That's
comprehend.
like everybody.
Right.
Everybody's on Zillow.
It's a fact.
And so basically it's saying that Zillow has the brand recognition, the massive traffic that will bring unprecedented global exposure for Century 21 listings. This is a huge advantage for us, and we are excited about this partnership. And I know that our home buyers and sellers are excited about it as well. And he finishes by saying that, if you're an agent out there and you want to take advantage of that, we are hiring.
Yes,
So
yeah.
you certainly
Final
can
comment.
join a Century 21 brokerage, and you will have that
Advantage.
That advantage.
Yeah.
It
And,
is a huge advantage.
Oh, it's amazing.
they basically are saying that when you look at all other portals combined, all other real estate sites combined, altogether, nothing comes close to even what Zillow is doing when you add all the rest of them up. So it's phenomenal. So it's fantastic. The Realtor.ca, it's a good portal, but the knock on that is that they've never spent the money to create the user experience, right? And
They don't have the money that Zillow has.
They don't, right? So I think it's great. Century 21 always led in technology, and we're providing our agents with I guess they're advertising a lot of other stuff. We won't get into that stuff, but I think this is great news for us, and great news for our buyers and sellers.
Yeah.
But Paul, just to crystallize, again, I'm just using my friend, happens to be my neighbor.
Yeah.
His and I think it's a general comment, what the public would feel. Zillow isn't just about, okay, I'm searching for houses. What he had said to me, I like the information that they provide.
Right.
They'll give information. This is what he told me.
Yeah.
And I need you to crystallize this, Paul. The schools, the walking scores, a lot of other information. It's not just search for a house in this area. He liked that it provided information, prices, and again, I need to be corrected. He felt that it also showed the history. So you could go on a house and see that these people bought it X number years ago, and it sold for this price, and that price. Is that correct?
So.
And this is a consumer saying that to me. I didn't want to argue with him.
No, and he is correct. Obviously, I have a house in down south.
Yeah.
And that information in terms of historical sales data and tax data is available on Zillow in the U.S. Canada has different privacy laws.
Okay. Right.
So he may not be able to get that information, at least at the present time,
Right.
on that site in Canada, because it just is not available. As you guys know, the government doesn't even own that data. They sold it, and that's why we purchase it from Geo Warehouse.
Okay.
Because they bought a 50-year lease on that data, and that's the only place to get it from.
Yep.
And it is a lot of money to acquire that data. So at this stage they don't have it, but who knows if they will provide it. The other thing that I think is important when you look at competition coming to town, right? And again, it's not competition on the real estate business, it's competition on eyeballs and viewership. And why I think it's so important is when somebody comes and does it better, we all need to up our game.
Yep.
We all need to pay attention and say, okay, what are we going to do different?
Yes.
Right? What what can we do for innovation? And what is the next thing that is the consumer is going to be looking for? So I think that is the benefit of venture capital money coming into the business, is that everybody better sharpen their pencil and build what they're doing in a more efficient way. And there's others out there too. In the States, there's another site which is called Redfin. Okay, nothing to do with Redpin. That was a small company in Canada, the technical company that didn't make it. But Redfin is also an amazing technology company, and they're based out of Seattle, and they've expanded to other areas. But I remember looking on the Redfin website early on when they started, and you could take a overhead view, and you could look in the window of the house that you're interested, and you can see the woman in there doing the dishes.
Wow.
That kitchen hot. Like it was just a little bit creepy in terms of the level of detail that they had with sites like this. And yeah, innovation breeds more innovation, and we need to step up the game to be able to compete. So
it's interesting.
I think it's fantastic, and I'm proud of Century 21 leading the way there.
Yes.
And I think other brands will knock it, of course, because they're not there yet, right? So it's you're ignoring it until you can't ignore it anymore, right?
Yeah.
So they're knocking it, but I think that they'll all be on board eventually, right? The technology is what it is, and the innovation is what it is.
Yeah.
It's no different than Uber and the taxi business. Eventually, the taxi business had to look around and say, maybe we should have an app that allows people to order a cab online.
Yeah.
Well, too little, too late now, right?
Yeah.
So, but anyways,
To be the leader, not the follower.
yes,
That's
yeah,
right.
I agree, Anthony.
Yeah. Good point.
for sure. So let's try the next wine.
Yes,
Okay,
fantastic.
we're ready for the next wine.
I think
So
I
what
am.
did you guys think of the Joseph Peltz cab? Okay. Exciting?
I'm not that excited about it.
No? Okay.
Paul, to be honest with you, but I am excited about this one.
You haven't even tried it yet. Why are you
but I'm
excited?
excited.
It's anticipatory.
The exclusivity, the fact that you can't get it here, you're excited, right? So
I better test it and see if it's okay before I serve it to you guys.
Very thoughtful.
don't be giving us corked wine.
Okay.
So this vineyard,
Yeah.
Paul, how much wine do they produce? And so my understanding is the only way you're able to purchase this is to, I guess, be on some sort of list with the vineyard or actually go there and visit it? How does that
Yeah.
work?
So it's actually, I'll give you a little quick story about Tor. So I'm always intrigued about the wine business and need huge amounts of money to be in the wine business, but this is a very, very interesting way that they go about it. So Tor makes 2,000 cases of wine a year. Okay,
2,000.
2,000 cases. Okay, they do not own any vines, and they do not own a winemaking facility.
So how do you do that?
Okay, so
Explain that one.
Very
Yeah.
interesting. So obviously this is my thing. So I'm
This
down
is
there.
intriguing.
And what's that?
This is intriguing.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So I visited a winemaking facility that's called Wheeler Farms, and Wheeler Farms has about a 50-acre vineyard, and it was just recently sold. And the company that bought it a couple of years ago, they made the most high-tech winemaking facility in Napa Valley. So this winemaking facility, and I toured the thing. In fact, I'll shoot a picture to Steve, and he can put it on there to show the facility. So what they do is they have surgical steel inside the vats, so that there's no porous, no nothing. The normal process for making wine is that you hook up pumps and you pour the juice over top of the skins over the top, and they do this several times. These vats are set up where everything is operated from your iPhone.
Oh,
Okay,
Give me a
so
break.
you're a winemaker. I live
Oh.
in Canada. I can go on, and every one of the vats has its own pump. So
Oh.
it's not move around a pump and do this. It has its own pump, and you can pump over your juice over top of
I can't believe it.
top of your
Grapes.
your grapes
Can't believe it. Can't.
whenever you want.
it's hard to believe.
So
From an iPhone.
also temperature control, everything is monitored. So you're basically looking at this. So this facility at Wheeler Farms is used by 9 different winemakers in Napa Valley. Some of them actually have their own vines, and they just haven't invested in the winemaking facility. I don't know what it costs to make wine there, but I'm sure it's not cheap. And of the 9 that are there, we tasted some wine from Wheeler. We tasted Tor. We tasted another one called Vice Versa. And in Napa, there's 530 different vineyards. So I was down there for a week. I tried 15. So apparently I have to go back, right?
It's a good reason.
There's a lot more work to do. But yeah, just absolutely fascinating that, you don't own vines, you buy the grapes, right? You don't own...
So where is the art then, Paul, right? So I would assume part of the art is growing of the grapes,
yes.
Right? So if we, let's say all three are buying the grapes from the same vineyard, right?
Right.
Then what differentiates, this wine from the next guy? If he's buying the same grapes and...
It's the ones who crush it with their feet.
No,
you don't do that anymore.
Are you not listening? It's under remote control. They get their phone and they
That's why I said I can't believe it with an iPhone.
Yeah. So
I'm thinking of the old Italian.
Yeah. So when you look at winemaking, it depends on who you talk to, right? So there is now a lot of rich farmers because there's I think it's and won't get the name of the vineyard right, but I think it's called Tocolone, right? Tocolone Vineyard, and then there's another vineyard that they sell the grapes from, and these vineyards are so sought after that people are paying huge money, and the farmer is basically growing the grapes and they're making a huge amount of money, and they don't have to invest in the equipment, they don't have to invest in the time, they don't have to have marketing to sell it, right? So they're selling the grapes. So when you look at those vineyards, there may be 8 different winemakers that are making wine and buy grapes from these particular areas, right? And this is also true in Burgundy. When we look at the French winemaking, and Burgundy is Pinot Noir, and it is so specific in terms of the terroir and the growing area for the grapes that there's some small areas in Burgundy where they are selling these 3 rows of grapes. They sell for so much. These other 6 rows sell for a different amount, and these are, also the most sought after grapes in the Burgundy region.
Wow!
And
just because of their performance in the past, and they've
performance
shown
in the past, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, their track record.
Yeah. So a lot of these cult wines, these low-producing wines, they don't have a vineyard. Low-producing wines, they're buying the grapes and they're making an amazing product. And and the way that you get on the list is you have to do a little finagling to actually even get to the tasting, right? And we got to the tasting, and then you join their wine club, and so now I get a certain number of cases that I get allocated each year by joining their club, right?
Isn't that something?
And I guess I got a reason to go back to California each year to taste them again. So another vineyard that we went to, and I won't continuously talk about wine, but once you get me started, it's tough, right?
Yeah.
This is also a 2015, so very, very young. So there's lots of complexity. It does need time, right? So it is very young, but you taste the difference between that and the first one?
I prefer this.
Yeah?
Yeah.
This is delicious.
Yeah, I found it very flavorful. A lot of things going on when you're sipping on it. Did you find that?
A lot of things.
A lot of things going on when it passed through.
Yeah.
It's very tasty.
Yeah. So the other one that we visited, we went to Sonoma and visited a vineyard called Cayman, and Camus is a wine that we've had at the golf tournament a number of times. And by the way, we had 80 people out to our golf tournament for our wine tasting last week.
Biggest turnout.
We went through 11 cases of wine.
Wow.
Is what we went through for that event. It always is. I have a little emotional time after I take all that wine out of my cellar and I look in it. It looks empty now. But anyway, it's I'll get over it. But Kaman is spelled Kaman, and this is Paul Kaman, who is a screenwriter, and he did The Karate Kid, one he's famous for, and did a bunch of other ones. So he has a 300-acre farm in Sonoma, and he has, I guess, 50 acres of vines up in the top of the hills. So you meet in Sonoma in the town, and they drive you up through in a truck up into the top of the mountain. You go out on a deck, right, overlooking all the vineyards.
Gorgeous.
And then you taste the Cayman wine.
Just gorgeous.
It's incredible.
It was just
breathtaking.
You know, a buddy of mine says that when I'm tasting amazing wines, I'm like the crocodile, where my eyes roll back in my head, and I got the whites of my eyes showing. And I had a lot of those feelings when I was down south. So a lot of fun. So enjoy. I don't know if that's the first bottle imported to Ontario in my suitcase, but I also do have some of that being shipped to the house in Florida.
Excellent.
So good reason to go down there. I was also talking about one of the guys that works at the vineyard is saying that one of the treats that they get from working at the vineyard is the owner takes them into his wine cellar, and as bonuses and stuff, they get to pick any wine that they want. And these guys have massive cellars, not just their wines. They've got massive cellars with all kinds of wine. Now they always do have a section that says, okay, this section is a no-go, right? So they do have a few like that, but they said that it's just an amazing thing to be able to do. And yeah, wine is great. I would strongly recommend a trip to Napa Valley. I think it was fantastic. Yeah. So let's get back into to real estate.
Real estate, yes.
Yeah. So I guess the other thing that probably needs to be talked about is the long-standing lawsuit that the Toronto Real Estate Board has been going through with the Competition Bureau.
Yep.
And as we all know, the Competition Bureau won the appeal, and the case will not be heard before the Supreme Court. So everybody's asking you guys, I'm sure, asking me, what does it mean? What is happening with that? And what I'm going to do is, if you go on, and you know, a good place to get information is to go on to Toronto MLS, and on Toronto MLS there is a couple of sections right in the top in the hot news that talks about that. And because a lot of our agents don't go on and look at that stuff, I'm going to read a bunch of the questions and answers, and then let's have a little bit of a discussion about it, so that we can set the record straight for our agents and for the people that are watching. So I guess. The idea is that this order was put out on June 3rd, 2016. Okay, that's when the order got put out, and it took this long to find out that the appeal was not going to be heard. So one of the confusing points is that from the decision, we're supposed to have 60 days in order to implement this. Now, the first question is, does the 60 days start from June 3rd, 2016, in which case it's already up a long time ago, or does it start 60 days from now? So TREB doesn't have clarification, and there's a lot of things that they need clarification on. So we're assuming that it is 60 days from now. So October 22nd is the day. And I guess the first question is, how can consumers access this sold data? And consumers can only access this data through a password-protected virtual office website, or a VOW, operated by a TREB member for information purposes only in the context of residential real estate transaction. So what happens is that when you go out there and, you guys tell me, what have you seen in the news media? What kind of things have they been saying out there?
Well, the sensationalism of it, or the catch,
Yeah.
the CP24 catch is, Treb loses appeal, public will have access
To sold data.
right?
Period.
Like that's a typical type of
News blast.
News blast, right? What they don't tell you, and what I think the public assumes when they see that, is that they can just go on to any website and will have all that data. And we know that's not the case. They need to go into a VOW virtual office website to get that data. But those are the headlines, I would say, right? The misconception of the public is, I will now immediately have all this information.
And not to drag this on, but just to bring it to another little step, real estate professionals believe, great, if that's the case, this is, when I deliver my cards door to door, or I can just publish what the prices are. Because in my marketing, I could say 123 Anywhere Street sold for this. So even sales agents are not clear. So maybe the blast is that, but agents are thinking, great, in my marketing, I can publish the sale prices of houses.
Okay,
End
so
of story.
Mr.
And that's
Bungaro,
not correct.
can I ask you, is that correct?
It is not correct.
It is not correct. Why?
Why? Because according to today, what has not changed is, if you're going to publish any information, I have sold 123 Main Street, you've got to get permission in writing from both the seller and the buyer.
Right.
That has not changed, and that's the way it's moving
So the
forward.
RICO ruling has nothing to do with Treb.
Right.
Right,
The
so-
Competition
correct?
Bureau ruling, has nothing to do with TREB rules and regulations.
Right.
Other than that this stuff is permitted to be published on a password protected VOW.
Yeah.
But what it also doesn't do, and there's some questions around that, but we're talking about it now, it doesn't change the Real Estate and Business Brokers Act. It didn't change.
Nothing.
It doesn't change PETA, which is the Privacy and Protection Act for people's information. So there is a whole bunch of things that are unanswered, right?
Correct.
And what actually happened is, the day that the ruling came out, there's all kinds of companies that posted sold that on their websites. And those companies, for the most part, have corrected that, right? So let's look at the next question. I think these are good to go through, because I think this is, a lot of people are really concerned and don't understand it. So the next one is, what do I have to do to my website to be compliant? So the answer is, you or your service provider, if applicable, must sign and agree to be bound by the virtual office website, the VOW agreement with TREB. So this is not everybody. Third-party portals, they can't post sold data. It has to be somebody that is in compliant with a VOW policy signed with TREB. So they have to have signed that agreement, right? As well, they have to ensure compliance with the authorized user agreement. If you plan to make sold, withdrawn, expired, suspended, or terminated listing information available, you must do so in compliance with the VOW. Members providing access are responsible for how their actual or potential clients and customers use the information. The information can only be used to provide residential real estate brokerage services between a member and a client or customer, and cannot be monetized in any way. And what that means, and a lot of times people say, what does that mean? So you cannot have a site that says, want to know what the homes sell for? Fill out this credit card thing for $20 and we'll give you the information. So a VOW cannot monetize, and you can't charge people for this information,
access.
Right? And then members or their service providers will be legally liable for the misuse of information by themselves, their clients, or their customers, right? So all kinds of news media outlets are posting, sold data is now available online to the public.
Yeah.
And
period.
Yeah, and period. And we have to go Trump on them, right? Because it's what does he call it? It's
false news.
False news. False news, right? It's
False media.
news, right? And then it also goes on here to say, additionally, all members are still bound by applicable legislation and rules, including Personal Information Protection and Electronic Document Act, PIPEDA, the Real Estate and Business Brokers Act 2002, so REBA 2002, Code of Ethics and Regulations, as well as provisions under Canada's anti-spam list legislation, CASL, and the Do Not Call list, right? So, yeah, as you said, Anthony, agents thinking that, oh, we can just publish everything now, not true at all.
Right.
Right? It is this scenario only. So, next question. Am I allowed to scrape the data from the VOW feed? Can I use the data for non-real estate brokerage business between a realtor and a client or customer?
No.
No. So that's, I think when you use the word scraping data, that always sounds like it should be a no, right? You shouldn't be allowed to scrape data. No, the data cannot be scraped, mined, sold, resold, licensed, reorganized, monetized in any way, including through a derivative product or marketing reports. The data cannot be used for commercial purposes other than to provide residential real estate brokerage services. Breach of this by either a member or a member's client or customer may result in legal action, including damages against the member and the cancellation of TREB membership and TREB MLS system access.
So it's serious.
So apparently the board is taking a tough stance.
Well, when you look at that, Paul, right?
Right.
If you had commercial access to it, so you can imagine, you already get inundated with mover calls now. Imagine movers had all of this, right? So they're going to look up every single house that's sold, and as soon as your house is sold, you're going to have 1,000 movers calling you saying, hey, it's Joe's Moving Company, right?
Yeah.
So
No,
we can't have that.
So going to one of our questions that we've already covered, can I advertise sold prices now?
Yeah.
Quick answer, no.
No.
Right? However, you can provide sold information as long as in accordance with TREB authorized user agreement and the VOW agreement. So yes, you can provide sold data provided they've logged into a VOW and you've signed up for that authorized user agreement, and provided that you're in all the laws with REBA with regards to advertising. Okay? When can we start posting the information online? And of course, dozens of companies posted it the day that it happened, right? And TREB will make this information available to be posted online by October 22nd, 2018. If TREB is able to make this information available sooner, it will provide notice to members. However, the information can only be used for the purposes of engaging in residential real estate brokerage services. Any other purpose is not permitted under the VOW agreement, right? So it is a specific use, and nobody really has talked about that until we're looking at clarification. Next question is, can non-members post sold information?
No.
No, and it says that it cannot be used or posted by non-members without specific authorization from TREB. So I guess there are ways to get that authorization, not sure what they are, but that's how they answer this question. My client or customer doesn't want the purchase price of his home disclosed online. Will that information be confidential?
No. Well, you're looking at me, so I don't know why there was a pause. My thought is, when they sign an MLS listing, it says the information will be published.
Right.
That's why I said no.
Right.
But is there more to it?
Well, sure, because and this is the ambiguity and why we need to have some more clarification from the Competition Bureau, because the information,
when is it going to be published?
Could be made available on a VOW as of October 22nd.
Okay.
There is no provisions for whether or not the customer or seller agreed to have that information on the VOW. That's not been. But
I thought the question was that if the customer doesn't want the price disclosed, under no circumstances, I'm the seller, want my price disclosed. That's how I read the question.
Yeah.
The reason I said no, my understanding is TREB on the listing agreement states that you do authorized to have you must have the price disclosed.
Yeah. So the idea is that they don't forbid it from being on the registry data, right? Nobody can do that anyway.
Yeah.
So that is public information.
Right.
It's just not available online or through a vow. So the idea is that as of October 22nd, it will be available on the vow. However, we will continue to listen to feedback from members, buyers, sellers regarding their personal information, and will take the necessary steps to make sure that privacy laws are followed.
Okay.
And what that means is that there is some uncertainty
on that
in terms of what does that mean, right? And this is why, you know, I'm shocked that this wasn't heard, because there is really privacy issues that are here that are being conflicted, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of clarification.
I think a big question, Paul, is I understand that once a transaction is closed, it becomes public information, but between when it was sold and when it closes, I think that's a big question mark, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether that should be
provided.
Is it public information? It's not public information at that point.
It hasn't closed.
It hasn't closed yet, right? So I think that's an interesting point, and how are they going to deal with that, right? And I think we don't know yet.
No, I don't think that we know, but I think that certainly if the sold data is available on October 22nd, the sold data includes pending solds that haven't closed yet. So that's something that's going to have to be addressed.
Because that might be sold data.
Yeah, it will be based on the current rules. But there is a bunch of clarification issues.
Can TREB change? So for instance now, you're not allowed to withhold the sold price on a residential listing, but on a commercial listing you are, right?
Mm-hmm.
So on TREB, if you have a commercial listing, and it's sold, you can withhold the price until the closing date. Once it's closed, you have to have the sold price on there.
Yeah.
So is that something that they're going to do? I guess we don't know yet, right?
Well, and what's interesting with this is, and again, this is on the MLS, Toronto MLS, right on the front page, and FAQ, FAQ at trebnet.com. Any questions that you may have, send there. So that's a question that we'll certainly send in to see what kind of response we get to that.
Yeah.
So next question is, what if a new client or customer doesn't want the information posted on a go forward basis? And I'll give you the answer from TREB, that we are reviewing the consent language in the buyer representation and listing agreement to consider this. So this is again an unknown scenario, right? And this also flies in the face of why we were fighting this in the first place, is because it is private information, and now it's not. So we got to get clarification. Next question is, what about historical sold price information where consent were given before websites were even in existence? Okay, good question. So I'll give you the answer on that one. So TREB is reviewing the consent language. However, at this time, we are required to make this information available. So yeah, it's going to be available, but they are inquiring. Next question is, do you anticipate other changes to the vow agreement, buyer representation agreement, or the listing agreement? And I'll give you the answer that they've got here, that we are reviewing these agreements in light of our obligation under the order and the privacy laws, and will provide an update in due course. So there is still some confusion or uncertainty there. So the board is going to respond later. And they've actually said on the front of this that this is a current fact sheet, and they will add to it as questions come in and as information changes or adjusts. We are also considering whether changes are needed regarding how long listing photos should remain active on a broker's vow website after the sale of the property has been completed.
That's a good question.
Right?
That's an excellent question. So I buy the house,
Yeah.
These pictures are on there.
Yeah.
I live in the house now. You know,
And it's still up. It's still up.
Maybe I don't want those pictures out there.
Well, haven't you received calls for, you know,
Yes.
not regularly, but from time to time, and I think we all have. Would you please take those pictures off? I'm the owner of 123 Main Street.
Yeah.
And I don't want, it's, you know, I'm going on the website and the pictures are still there and the information. Please delete it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's a can
an
of
issue.
worms. There's no doubt.
Right.
Next one here is: does the order only affect the Toronto Real Estate Board?
Does the order
From the Competition Bureau only affect the Toronto Real Estate Board, or is it all of real estate?
all of real estate?
Yeah. So at this
it's just
time,
TREB.
the
only
order
TREB?
only applies to TREB.
So what about all the other boards?
Well, so the Competition Bureau did not go to the Ontario Real Estate Association or CREA. They chose to do this action against TREB.
But Paul, my point is, you got just Barrie, Orillia, Hamilton, Niagara, Timbuktu, for all around the GTA.
Mm-hmm.
They're exempt from this. It doesn't seem to be. I'm using the language fair.
So I'll finish the answer. So TREB is the only board that is affected by this order, because that's who the lawsuit was with, and it affects all listings on Stratus. It also includes listings from our partner boards that show up on the TREB board.
So it would connect.
So Durham,
Interboard
so
listings.
DRAR and the Brampton Real Estate Board,
Okay.
and also interboard listings would be affected by this.
Well, interboard would be something on Connect,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
And then and the last sentence is, however, we expect that other boards will change their practices as well, right? So the idea is that this is where it's done, and I would assume that it's going to apply eventually to everybody, and maybe they'll follow suit, maybe they won't. I guess we'll find out, right? Number 12, is the litigation with the Competition Bureau over? And their answer is, there is no outstanding litigation with the Competition Bureau. So I don't know why they didn't say yes, it's over, but they said no, there's no outstanding litigation, right? Will my fees increase as a result of this decision?
Who asked that question?
Yes, so they are going up at Century 21 Leading Edge as a result of this decision. No, just kidding. So fees will not be impacted by this decision. Okay, so not to worry. And then it says at the end, do you have questions or would you like more information? Please email faq@trebnet.com and someone will get back to you. If you'd like to read the original June 3rd order, please click here. So that order is on the front page of Toronto MLS, and you can actually read the original order that came from the Competition Bureau in June 2016. If you want to read the things. I don't know how big a report that is, but sometimes these things are hundreds of pages, right? So if you want to, this is a good 2.5 page fact check on it. So yeah, lots to digest with this.
Yep.
And I really think that the bottom line is that it's business as usual, right? If you are a technology person, you're utilizing or you like the idea of this and you're going to utilize it, then please make sure that you read and sign the vow policy, right? Yeah. Just so our agents know, we do have a vow agreement, and even on your Century 21 provided website, we offer a vow access on that site. Majority of agents don't utilize it, but it is available on that site. You would need to sign the vow agreement, and to make sure that it is absolutely in compliance with the user agreement with TREB, and that you're only providing that information when appropriate.
Yep.
Right.
Lots to think about.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Vow. Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Vow. Vow. Wow. Vow.
I think I need a drink of wine.
Yeah, there you go. And, you know, I think that, you know, people can get all caught up in these things, right? And I think that the real thing that you need to take from this is that if you're going to do something, follow the rules, read the rules. Don't jump ahead and do things that are going to get you in trouble, that are going to cause problems. But yeah, I don't think that you sweat it. And certainly from the standpoint of the other news with Zillow, that's coming into effect. We'll have a lot of extra exposure for our agents and our listings, and all good, business as usual. Right?
I agree.
That's very positive.
Yeah.
I agree.
So what else? What else can we cover in our podcast today, guys? What else do we need to talk about? What other burning issues are out there, or challenges are people facing?
That's a good question.
I don't know.
That's right. We've covered a lot of information.
There's always so
much. Well, after all that, wow. I don't know if I can
those
think
were
of,
pretty big, right?
Those are big. Those are
Zillow
big.
And the Competition Bureau were,
and
were
the
pretty
market
big.
conditions.
So while you guys are thinking about that, I will pour the third wine.
Okay.
And you guys need to finish the first glass so that I can pour you the third wine. And you know, our friends at Napa Media, would you like to try the second wine? Please bring your glasses in, and we'll let you try
Cass,
that.
if there's anything else that's been.
I'll use this glass, Paul.
So okay, so for you guys, so
There's
this
really-
third wine that we're trying tonight, you guys are on the tour, our media team, and if you guys notice the camera's shaking as we get close to the end of the video, please let me know and we will cut them off from wine drinking.
Oh, future wine drinking.
Cheers, guys.
So this third wine is a Cabernet. It's a bit of a blend. I think there's a little bit of Merlot, a little bit of Cabernet Franc, and this is a Super Tuscan from Italy, which we've had before. Did I pour some for me? I did, right? Yeah. No, that's in this glass. Gotta get the right glass. Yeah. So just wanted to see how that one compares to the Tour. I'm a big fan of the Super Tuscan, so
Smells delicious.
I think sort of each one, I don't know, I say got better, but I'm thinking this is very flavorful.
Yeah, so I think that this one
the blend or whatever
is just a little bit more tannic and very complex. I think that the Tour is drinking a little bit better younger.
Yeah.
But this one's got lots of complexity and is going to turn into an amazing wine. Also, all three of these wines are wines that you would have with a steak, right?
And are available in the Baron cellar at any time.
And are available in the Baron
If you
cellar.
bring steak.
Now, should I light the barbecue or what?
Yeah, I think that's the point.
So the idea is that these are meat wines, right? But
strong, robust.
Yeah. So thank you very much, guys. I guess we'll sign off for our fifth podcast. And what I wanted to do is just invite any of our viewers out there, whether from Century 21 Leading Edge or any companies or anywhere out there watching this podcast, if you have questions that you would like us to cover on this podcast, send them in. I guess we'll throw an email address up at the bottom of the screen, and you can certainly send those questions in to us. And they can be about real estate, about wine, about cars, any of the things that we cover in this podcast. I'm Paul Barron, broker of record from Century 21 Leading Edge, signing off.
And I'm Tasis Giannakakis, partner at Century 21 Leading Edge.
Anthony Bungaro, broker and partner, Century 21 Leading Edge. Cheers.
Great. Another great night, guys. Thanks a lot.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
And thanks to Vendetta Media for a great
Cheers.
job
Thanks,
as
Vendetta.
usual.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers, guys.